Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gives me heartburn. I was like, I loves it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here.
Oh yeah.
That's right. I'm waiting for that mute to go off this week because these motherfuckers will call me out immediately. Hello, fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we debate the best movies, books, and shows in the genre fiction realm with our distinguished guests. Said distinguished guest tonight is Craig Tuch of the Hidden Gems podcast and indie author notoriety. Craig, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on. I love the format of drinking and talking about movies and crap like that.
I mean, does it get any better than that? They build entire conventions around this model.
Yep.
So here we are. We are taking what conventions do best, bringing it live to you in your homes, out there in the fermented universe. Thank you all for riding with us as you do every week. We really appreciate everybody out there. And if you're not one of those people, if this is your first time, we're going to do some debating on this show. We're going to have a panel discussion with Craig and our other hosts, and those hosts are me, Clay Vermullen, my brother Travis Vermullen, Jeremy Hudson, and we're going to do a quick round of personal updates so you can get to know a little bit more about us right fucking now. Jeremy, nice jacket, dude. You're ready. You're in character. What's going on?
Well, what's going on is that as of today, I can walk again. So that's nice.
Hey.
I know, right? So good. Which is, I'm a little bummed that it happened before the Terminator episode, because I could have made a joke about how I'm more machine now than man. But,
Sure.
I'll get there. I'll get there if we cover any more Terminator movies.
Yeah.
There are plenty.
And who knows how much machine we're all going to be in the coming years. It's hard to tell. It's pretty wild out there. So I'm glad your ankle is all healed up. For those of you who don't know, Jeremy broke his ankle in a pitched battle against the icy concrete just a while back, and he healed up fast. So we're happy for you, buddy. Trav, what's going on with you?
Well, my personal update is actually going to be a question for you, Craig, because it will involve you, as you are the person I'm debating today. Sure. I played 4 D&D games with this before realizing, so I got this as part of a dice gift set.
There we go.
And it's a high risk, high reward dice. So it's got 3 20s on it, but it also has 3 1s.
Nice.
And it has 3 2. It has like 1 through 5 and 20 through 17, and that's it. It has no other numbers, so it's like high risk, high reward.
Fire.
My question: can I use this for the debate roll today? It's up to you, Craig.
It's all good for me. I don't really care. Listen, I have lots of problems with both movies, but I also love both movies, so I can talk about them. It's fine.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm doing high risk, high reward dice today. It's very fun. Yeah, I was confused why I was rolling so many nat 20s for like 2 of my D&D games, and then I was like, "Oh, sorry guys," and they were like, "Keep using it." So
Do it.
Yeah, that's fun. That's kind of a great DM dice, to be honest. Like if you were playing a boss anyway, like they should be tough, and if they make a big mistake, then your players should take advantage of that. I think that's fun. I also think that's a fun, that's the guest dice, because we tell you ahead of time, like, yo, bring a dice, and if you don't do it, then you're playing the high risk, high reward game.
We can make this guy like the guest dice from now on.
That should be the official guest dice. I like this.
Yeah, man.
Craig, you're officially the only guest that gets to choose whether you use this dice. The rest of them are just going to have to live with it. So I appreciate that you deferred.
Then nobody would have been allowed to use it. Is that how
No.
Yeah.
No, I think I'd have wanted to make this decision regardless. I just appreciate your courage to defer regardless of having a choice. We
it's all random. Like I'm all about, people are we play cards and poker. They flip a card and at the casino it's like, okay, well, you flip that card, so now you got to deal the rest of the people. You skip it, right? You're not supposed to deal the next card right to that person because it'll screw up the whole. Screw up what? It's all random, man.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
People get touchy about that, though. I mean, I still have a story of I brought my wife to like her very first poker game ever. With some very competitive friends, and I knew they were competitive, but I didn't think they'd be a dick to my wife. But they were pissed because she was asking for some changes, and she did something with her cards that they were like, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, guys, chill, okay? It's her first time playing. The buy-in was $20. Settle the fuck down. You can have your $20
this isn't the Bellagio. Right?
Let's just bring it down a little bit.
She can't count cards. She's not cheating. She doesn't know how to play. As you can see, unless you think this is a racket, and that's giving me way too much credit. Way too much.
It is.
Right. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Y'all should know how stupid I am by now, especially if you watch this show. My personal update. Speaking of stupid, the Seahawks are going to Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
I was there to watch it happen. But I am not a Seahawks fan. I'm a Rams fan. So I was bummed out. But I had a really good time because it was a very fun game. It was a super high-powered shootout. So about the funnest game you could have. Another shout-out to Aaron for bringing me and my dad to that. It was really awesome. And we got to go to the new Seattle Aquarium the next day because Dad's flight was a little later than expected. So if you are in the area and you've never been to the Seattle Aquarium, you're in luck because it's much better than it used to be. And if you have been to the aquarium like a few years ago and you're like, this is the worst aquarium of all time, and a city that's right on the water has no excuse having this bad of an aquarium, you would have been correct in that as well. But they no longer have a terrible aquarium. They've done some awesome work on it. They put in a huge new exhibit, and it's really, really cool. So highly recommend going to check it out. Also, recommend watching a game at Lumen Field if you ever have the resources, time, and desire to do that. It's an awesome environment, even if you're not a Seahawks fan. Seahawks fans aren't like Eagles fans. They're not going to fight you. They might yell at you, but, if you're a Rams fan like me, you deserve to be yelled at anyway because I'm talking shit the whole time. So, yeah, it was a good time. It was a great weekend. Shout out to Aaron. Thanks for coming out, Dad. It was a lot of fun. That's my personal update because not much has happened since Sunday for me. Yesterday was recovery day and aquarium. So, yeah, it's a good time. Craig, what about you? Who are you? What do you do? Where can people find you? And thanks again for coming on the show. Let the Fermented folks know who you are.
Sure. I'm Craig Tuch. I run hiddengemsbooks.com. It's a author services company. And like you said, we have a podcast called Fully Booked where we talk to authors or anyone in the publishing industry about topics that relate to the industry and to writers. So, we put that every Thursday morning. We're 200 and some odd episodes in now. So it's fun. I love talking to the, to people in the industry just about whatever, whether it's an author talking about their experiences or whether it's a publisher talking about what they do or, and whatever it is, I love it. The company, we're best known for our ARC service, but we do beta readers. We have, we do consults. We have a whole host of services that people can do, and I'm working on some new stuff too. So it's going to be an exciting year, I think, for us. And, in anticipation of this, I 3D printed my own Terminator arm.
Right.
Would nice. Have been better if there's something you can get at IKEA, although I don't know, it's not stocked around here anymore, which is a big glass vase that would sit over it and make it look just like, and then the bottom lights up and everything. I couldn't get it, unfortunately, but I did print the hand. So we're good. And in the background, you can see I got the Terminator Lego model up there. So
Yeah.
I'm all set.
You could not be more set, sir. That's awesome. And definitely recommend Craig's services. He's been doing this a long time, helped a lot of authors find their path. If you are a new author, especially an indie author, I think there's a lot of information on how to be a traditionally published author, and there's kind of a path that most people generally try to follow, and that's kind of established. But when you're an indie author, it's the Wild West out there. There's a million ways to make your name. There's a million ways to stake a claim, and there's no right way and there's no wrong way. So like people like Craig's Hidden Gems services, they can really help you find what your lane might be, because a lot of the time that's really all you're missing. It's not that you don't have a lane, or that you don't even that you don't have the skills or whatever, the resources. It's often just about not knowing which direction you should go for your stories and the way you want to tell them. Because there's also a million ways to do that. You can write short stories, you can write novels, you can write screenplays, you can write plays. So follow your own path. And if you need help finding your path, go check out Hidden Gems. You can listen to the podcast too, and see if that's the kind of group you want to work for. And I think if you listen to Craig's podcast, you will think that you do want to work with them, because they have a great show. That's where I met Craig. He was nice enough to invite my dumbass on the show. It's his mistake, but here we are. We're carrying it on, and now he's on my show. So I'm excited to have you here, Craig. Thanks again for everything, buddy. No worries. This is like I said, I love this stuff. So I've been in it for 15 years now, and I can't imagine going back to a desk job. This is where I want to be, definitely. So thanks for having me. I mean, to be fair, still lots of desks involved, I'm sure, but it's much better. It's much better desk, and a desk of your choosing, which again, that's the beautiful thing about being an artist. No commute. That's the best part. This is true. This is true. And speaking of choosing, that's something we don't get to do tonight in our debate, because the dice gods choose for us. Lady Luck will decide whether Craig and Travis like or dislike the Terminator. The high roll will defend, the low roll will attack, regardless of their true feelings. I don't know if anybody doesn't know what Terminator is about, but just in case, I'll give my usual brief summary. Terminator is about a cybernetic, android? Robot?
It's an android.
Technically,
they say they're cyborgs, but that's incorrect.
Right. I'm interested to have that discussion, Jeremy, because my understanding was a cyborg is a human that's augmented with robotics, whereas other way around. Cyborg is a robot that's augmented with humanity.
It can go
traits.
either way.
It can go either way? Oh, okay.
Yeah, one aspect has to enhance the other aspect, essentially.
I see. Okay, so anyway, it's about a cyborg android who goes back in time to kill the savior of the human race, Sarah Connor, before she can save said human race, because the robotic overlords under the robotic overlords are trying to finalize their conquest of the planet. Now, if this sounds very familiar to you right now, that's unfortunate for all of us, I think. But we're gonna talk about these movies in a fictional sense tonight and try to enjoy the ride while we still have humans on the planet. That's basically the movies. The second movie is the same storyline, but they're trying to do it with a different Terminator, and the old Terminator's their friend now. That's essentially what's gonna happen. So yeah. We're going to roll those dice. We're going to set a 10-minute timer. Jeremy, do you have that timer? Are you ready to count these guys in as our referee?
Oh, yeah. I was born ready. So come on, guys. Let us have a good, old-fashioned, no-holds-barred, city-spanning punch-up of a debate.
Let's do it.
And, let's flip and do it. Shots below the belt are encouraged and, quite frankly, required.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So we're going to get into this right now in 3.
Dice roll first.
Do we roll first?
Roll your flipping dice, guys. What are you doing?
Hold on.
Jeez.
I can't even.
High risk,
Not a
high
nat
I
reward.
wonder what
Not a-
Travis rolled.
It wasn't a nat 20, but it was a good
I only
one.
got okay. Well, you got I think a 4 here. It's hard to tell. I'm pretty sure it's a 4.
got
I
a-
3D printed it, and it's like I don't have the colors on it, so I'm
Oh,
like,
right.
but yeah. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's a
that's
4.
tough.
I got an 18.
18.
it.
All right. So what? So that means I am against Terminator. Is that right?
Yes.
You hate
I
Terminator.
mean, you fucking
Yes.
hate these
Alright.
movies, man. That's ooh.
Despise
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
You built the Lego out of spite.
I did. I was angry about it, and so yeah.
He 3D printed the arm with a rage boner the entire
Yep.
time.
Just rage printing that
Well,
thing.
that's no. I'm good.
Rage.
All right. I'm ready.
Perfect. All right. Let's
start.
get at it. Let's get after it in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. As the affirmative, I will bring us in. This is Terminator, people. This is Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 we're specifically talking about. There is a reason these movies are considered classic sci-fi and in some circles classic horror as well, because they are excellently shot, brilliantly scripted, well acted, and they look beautiful for 1984 and 1991. The CGI and the practical effects really hold up. I mean, these are on the same level as Alien and Star Wars of like, wow, yeah, maybe for a 2026 audience that looks a little janky, but not bad. Like, it's really, really good stuff, especially when you get into the second movie and you get a lot of those practical effects with the action sequences and the huge like building explosion that happens that is just in the memory of cinema history forever, as well as a lot of the like T-1000 with the liquid Terminator kind of shifting things. That will always forever live in the minds of sci-fi fans and movie fans in general. It's something that needs to be seen. There's a reason these movies will constantly be referenced forever. I mean, it's 2 of the movies that scream 2 references in their kind of debate about sequels, so it's standing up there with giants like The Godfather and Alien. It's a classic for a reason. I'm not even a big James Cameron fan. If I would have rolled low, that's who I would have attacked. But you can't deny that he really, really hit it out of the park with Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. These movies are fantastic, and I will get into more of the detail after I hear what Craig's got to say against it.
Okay, well, listen, I agree that they're great movies, but they're overpraised. And once you stop like worshiping them, then I think you start seeing the cracks, right? Terminator 1, people think it's airtight, but the story only works if you don't ask any questions. The entire premise relies on time travel, which, the rules aren't really defined, but we're told the future's fixed, but then it isn't because he comes back to protect John Connor. But oh wait, now he ends up being John Connor's dad. And then in T2, we find out that the Terminators were only created because the first one went back and they used the arm and they went back and took everything apart and figured out, put them, what did they say, years ahead of where they would have ever gotten. It's a whole bootstrap issue, right? Whereas like, the events would never have happened if they didn't send them back in the first place, which, obviously just kind of breaks the whole story. And then there's that whole idea that it's in the first one, it was kind of causal, everything was causal, but then in the second one we're talking about how, oh no, you can actually change it. And then the whole idea of destiny versus the fixed, it was very muddy in both of the movies. And then T2, I mean T1, at least it had a very clear, he's a Terminator, he's terrible, is going to kill everybody, blah blah blah, right? Then the second one, he comes back and he's like a dad and he's making jokes and catchphrases and all that stuff. Is very tonally different. T2 very tonally different than T1, which I think really sort of made it not as great as the first one. And in general, I think they're influential films for sure, because they did stuff like before anyone else kind of did, but they're certainly not flawless science fiction stories. They're great rides, but they're kind of on shaky ground.
I think that one of your criticisms of the storyline is actually just a testament, can be turned around as a testament to like Arnold Schwarzenegger's underrated acting in his early career. Like most people just see him as, you know, the buff bodybuilder from California who grunted and said lines in his Austrian accent. But like to go from Terminator 1, where he's literally just a no line killing machine with a dead stare all the time. I think he says maybe 5 things, one of them being Zaragona like 6 times. but like to go from that to this robotic yet kind of like endearing figure that's really protective of his mission and his objective, but is taking that a step further of like letting that mission and objective teach him how to be and seem more human. I really think it was impressive, and people don't talk about Arnold enough of his performances actually doing pretty well in those days. You know, he does Commando too, so it's not, I don't blame people for critiquing his acting skills because that was a really, really bad movie. But I think too, another thing I'd point out is maybe as a joking way is like, does it ever tell us in Terminator 1 that Kyle Reese doesn't know the whole time that he's John Connor's dad, and he just knew that it'd be a lot better way to get laid to like lie about it than to like go back and be like, we have to have sex right now or else the future's like,
I mean, that does sound like a line.
Yeah, it sounds like a line, a terrible line, rather than like, you gotta believe me, there's this killer robot after you, and I'm just trying to protect your future son. I don't know whose that is, though.
I mean, if I was
And
single,
then, you know,
I'd be
he
at the
builds
bar
some-
right now trying that out.
some repertoire. So I think maybe Kyle Reese was in on it the whole time. He just knew he couldn't go back in time and drop it on her right away.
I don't know. I think you're retconning a little bit there, but you know, I think first of all, if you're praising Arnold's acting in T1 because he acts very robotic very well, I think that was sort of they picked him for that role.
I'm
weird.
praising the transition.
It's kind of weird that they have this robot that can imitate everyone's voice, which he does in multiple scenes, right? But his default voice is this weird Austrian accent that doesn't make any, that you can barely understand. There's things like that makes it seem a little bit hokey and a little bit like low budget, which it was. The first one at least. The second one, I think they pulled all the stops. But yeah, I think the idea that he knew that he was a father, I think that is just as implausible as the idea that they decided to make the arm the catalyst for building them in the future in T2. I don't think that any of that was thought through. I think Cameron made a killer robot movie on a low budget, and it did well, and everybody was taken by surprise, and then he had to write T2, and then he decided to use that whole bootstrap paradox to define everything, which I'm not a big fan of. I love time travel movies, but that one always bugs me. It's like none of this would have happened if he didn't go back in the first place. So how does that make sense? It doesn't. It really makes the thing fall apart.
I've always kind of liked the fixed timeline idea of like, no matter what we do, we are on the same trajectory and we think we can time travel, but really that's actually just creating events as they are. I've always kind of liked that as like a philosophical idea of like, you can't, like, you are on the timeline you're on. And even if you think you're bouncing around, like the whole thing of like, if you went back and tried to kill Hitler, it would probably actually do exactly what happened in the future or something. I'm a fan of that concept, but I don't want to divert too much because I want to go back and talk about performances because I'd really love to hear if you got anything against this. I really do think like Schwarzenegger is on his A game here. Yes, he acts robotic in the first one, but he's really tested to the limit in the second one with this like little edge of that fatherly figure coming in. Linda Hamilton is fantastic and jacked. Robert Patrick was amazing in this. Joe Morton, who like no one thinks about, is really, really, really good as Miles Dyson is the lab person under this like extreme duress. But I really think what Cameron did in changing the trajectory of the story so much in the second one was create these opportunities for people to really shine, especially like Linda Hamilton, of going from your standard 80s kind of like woman in distress to this like badass who's more along the lines of Alien, Sigourney Weaver style, like kicking butt.
So it's interesting you didn't mention anything about Edward Furlong and his Academy-winning performance as
Edward
whiny
Furlong
child.
did fantastic. Yeah, I just
no.
I was yeah.
I think his performance is very uneven, right? He's the whiny, rebellious guy who somehow turns into this hardened military leader. It's hard. That one's hard to believe. I think Sarah Connor was pretty good in the first one, absolutely, but in the second one, she was very one note, right? I think that I think a lot of it becomes her paranoia, her intensity. They were almost caricatures. The narration, the monologue that she gives is very heavy-handed. I think that her performance in the first one, going from waitress to hardened leader was better.
Everybody shut up. We're done with that. We're gonna drink about it and talk and
Good
have
debate.
feelings.
Good debate, Craig.
Good work, everyone.
Well fought.
Very gentlemanly.
It was.
Well, I don't know how to hit below the belt on Terminator. It's all metal under there. What are you hitting?
It's all metal.
You'll want some protective gloves for that.
Yeah.
They still need hips to move because for some reason they thought making bipedal robots was the best way to go.
And I mean,
that doesn't make any sense.
So like, there's something there.
Well, if you're climbing over things, I don't know if you want wheels, right?
You want like spider legs.
Yeah.
That's the best
Spider
types of legs, especially if you're like a spider centaur where you're like body up, you have human arms and thumbs, but spider legs.
It's harder to hide those in the population, right? I think that
would be
the point.
That
they put the skin on them so that
the spider Tor would be pretty conspicuous.
I think the best like
it would
alien entity in disguise is the bug in Men in Black that just
I love the bug in Men in
people
Black.
And like moves them around. Like
and he's the little guy in the face or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, that one's good too. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I do love the Men in Black monster. It's a great.
The bug monster is a great monster.
Mm-hmm.
We should.
You know what else I love?
Hey,
I love drinks.
Yes.
Hey.
And everybody probably has one tonight. It seems like.
Yeah.
I've got Rainy Days Brewing from out here on the peninsula, and this one is called Disturbing the Peace.
Nice.
And it's a tasty little hazy. Yeah, from right down the road. What are you drinking, Trav?
The same thing I was last episode, but maybe more pertinent of a name today because, like, I don't think Terminators probably never sweat. So
yeah,
it's true.
Unless they have to like cool off that way.
Yeah, maybe it's my bourbon from Butte that I love so much. I'm just finishing it off, so it'll be on a couple episodes until it's gone. And then turns out trying to get a new bourbon every episode is not within my budget.
Yeah.
That's definitely fair.
It's going to run out real quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't be doing that. And you also shouldn't be drinking that much bourbon, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a lot. We do an episode every single week.
I mean, I think at that point, his drinking problem is really more of a storage problem. I hope.
That would be preferred, the lesser of those two evils for sure. Jeremy, which evil did you choose tonight in your spirits?
Well, Sarah Connor drinks some tequila, so I went to the liquor store and asked, hey, what's a good tequila to sit around and talk about the Terminator movies with? And I walked out with this Corazon single barrel aged in Eagle Rare barrels.
I think I might have that.
Ooh.
I mean, if your liquor store attendant knows the answer to that, I'm pretty impressed. You know, how often do they get that? Well, this pairs well with the Terminator movie.
They know what they're doing. And I took a page out of Travis's book, made a tequila old fashioned.
Yeah, those are so good.
Nice.
Nice.
I love them.
Rips, man.
Nice.
It's ripping.
It's ripping.
Well,
it's ripping
nice.
right now.
I am on keto right now, so I can't drink like beer. So I'm drinking Glenlivet, which is a single malt Scotch. I was introduced to that a few like last month by a friend of mine, and I'm loving it. So that's what I'm drinking now.
Heck yeah.
I believe that is the whiskey that Jonathan drinks in The Mummy. Doesn't he go, Glenlivet, 12 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
which is
mine was
actually owned by the big guy that dies. I forget his name because he pulls it out of his bag.
Yeah,
Yep.
their guide.
Yeah. After
their
he gets
guide.
killed by the bugs. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah,
You know, it's the bourbon. I can't get bourbon, so because of all the trade war stuff, right? Canada has blocked all U.S. liquor. So, and I learned recently that bourbon, you can't call it bourbon unless it's made in Kentucky. So
you can't.
I used to.
U.S.
What's that?
It's
Well,
just the United
I thought it was-
States.
okay. Well, I don't know. I
You
read
can
that
make
it
it
had to
in
be
Puerto
Kentucky.
Rico if you want to.
Well, you can make it anywhere, but I thought you weren't allowed to call it bourbon unless it was from Kentucky.
this is
it's
murky
either
water
way.
you're treading here, Craig.
Yeah.
Just
Either
USA.
way, I would like Jack Daniels. I love Jack Daniels, but we can't get it anymore. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee whiskey.
What's that?
Yeah, it's the United States, and that was weirdly. I'm sorry, I have to take the tangent and do fun facts. That actually was not a rule until the 60s under the. I think it was the. No, I think it was later than that. I forget whose administration it was. Basically, the bourbon company is actually like pressured a president, and I forget which president, to make that like a law that bourbon is America's liquor, and like you have to call it. You can't call it bourbon if it was ever made outside of America.
right
really
now, I don't know like if you'd go to jail, but you definitely can't. They're starting to create some here, and they're calling it things like bourbon, like BER, BEN. You know, like they're renaming
do
it. In Canada, we have rye, which is basically
Yep.
you know the same sort of thing. And then
Oh yeah.
so it's all good, but whatever gets you drunk.
Fair.
Absolutely.
You're here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cheers to that. Cheers to that. And cheers to the Terminator movies. We have some fun facts about them.
Yes, we do. And anyone jump in. I'm only going to name 5 from each movie because I keep my list at 10. But if you have some extras that I missed, please jump in there after I'm done. So for Terminator 1, one of the biggest, most well-known fact to fans that is always fun to talk about is the fact that it was used a lot of what is called guerrilla filmmaking. Basically, James Cameron didn't want to get pay the money to get permits, so they would just film at night when like people weren't around, or like wait for the police to like move away and leave before they arrived. And it was like a whole thing where he's convinced a lot of like college students and stuff to help him with the project under like a shoestring budget, and just do most of it completely not technically legally, which makes the visuals of the movie that much more impressive in my opinion. Like it was not done, it was done all under the table, which is really cool early in James Cameron's career. One of my favorite facts is that he got the idea for this film in post-production for Piranha 2, The Spawning, which is a terrible movie. But he was on set, and he had a nightmare of a metal endoskeleton emerging from flames, dragging itself over the floor, holding chicken. And was like, I need to make that.
He was just describing.
I'm gonna make that a movie.
I wish I had dreams like that. Wow.
Yeah, right.
That's sick.
He was probably basically just describing like the best boy grip and what he looked like at the end of Piranha 2.
You didn't finish the title. Piranha 2, The Spawning.
Sorry, The Spawning. What a great name for Piranha 2.
Yes, The Spawning. Originally, Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually supposed to play Kyle Reese. Because he was kind of getting big at this moment. And so the production studio wanted him to be the main lead, and they were going to pull, and this is a fun but also sad fact, O.J. Simpson was going to play the Terminator. But James Cameron went to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger for the role of Kyle Reese. And apparently he said in interviews, went in with the intention of picking a fight with Schwarzenegger so that he could go to the studio and be like, he's impossible to work with. And then they just ended up loving each other. And like Arnold was like, I love the robot. He's like the coolest character. And he was like, okay, we can work with this. So yeah, O.J. Simpson was almost the Terminator. That would have changed a lot about how this movie survived the annals of time. Mel Gibson also turned down the role of Terminator, which would have also changed a lot.
Oh my god!
So
Sweet
both
Jesus.
of those, both of those very fun facts. All right, I had one more. Let me find it here. Kyle Reese smiles one time in the entire film, and it's when Sarah Connor playfully throws him the bag of explosives after their night of intimacy in the Tiki Motel. And the rest of the time, fantastic, and I think often underrated actor Michael Biehn had to keep a very stoic, straight face. Which leads me to my first fact about T2. They were gonna bring back Michael Biehn, Kyle Reese's actor, as the T-1000 and have it be a complete reverse of roles, where like they had taken John Connor's likeness and made him the new villain, and the hero was now Schwarzenegger. But test audiences or like test people for the script were like, that won't play. People will be very confused and hate it. Which is funny because they kind of did that in the later sequels, and I would say they were correct. People kind of hated it. So T2 is the only Terminator film to win or be nominated for an Oscar. It won 4 out of the 6 nominated Academy Awards. The giant explosion was so good. They filmed it with 11 cameras, and there's actually a behind the scenes, like funny little gag shot of cameras on the explosives crew while they're watching the explosion, and they're forgetting to film the explosion because they're so like enamored with their own explosion. And so they all like rush to turn the cameras on because they're just sitting there like, whoa, we did it. Which is cool. In the final scenes, Arnold Schwarzenegger had to ad-lib the lines, I cannot self-terminate, you must lower me in the steel, which was kind of a reshoot because the test audience didn't understand why he didn't just push the lower elevator button by himself. And they were like, why can't he just do that on his own? And so Arnold came up with this like ad-lib line of like, oh, he can't kill himself. It's part of his whole thing. And this was the first film. This kind of answers my final segment of were these a success? The first one very much was. And this was the first film to break $300 million in the United States film to break $300 million at the international box office. So both T1 and T2, highly successful movies. T1 enough to warrant T2. And definitely my last thing I'll slip in here, and this is actually more probably for the opinion section, but I don't care. James Cameron, I'm not a fan of in his interviews. I've always said, though, and I'm wondering if people agree with my comparison. He's like Michael Bay if Michael Bay actually made good movies. So that's my facts.
Shots fired at Michael Bay and James Cameron.
They're not watching.
Oh, yeah.
If you are watching, I would love to debate you. I'm sure you're both wonderful gentlemen.
Please come on the show and defend yourselves.
I have my opinions. And that is my fun facts. Is there any I missed that people are dying to talk about?
I read that Linda Hamilton's twin sister played when the Terminator became her in a couple of the scenes. I think there was one where she was in the mental hospital. There was like a mirror scene, and then there was another one later in the steel factory. They used her twin sister so that it would look even more real, and they maybe save on some special effects.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they also used another actor's twin in the mental hospital. So they can stand face to face and it won't look terrifying. You don't have to go full.
That guard guy, like the redheaded guard, right? Yeah.
The garden is great.
Yeah, listen, it's I always hire twins for those roles.
I have to throw in one extra. They didn't think the CGI of the helicopter in the tunnel would play. Like they didn't think they had developed the technology to that level yet. So the helicopter pilot was like, I can just do that.
Yeah, I read that too.
Straight up a real helicopter in the tunnel.
Yeah,
And
apparently it's super dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think half the crew didn't show up that day. They were worried that things would go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I heard that the biker bar scene, they used real bikers as well. Like they went to a biker bar and just
Sure.
murdered a bunch of people. I don't know about the guy he took the clothes from, but
a lady like wandered in, I guess, when Arnold was in his boxers and was like, what's going on here? And he was like, it's male stripper night. And then they maybe used that as like a bit for the third movie, but yeah. The fact that helicopter stunt pilot was just like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, and I think that the liquid metal was developed for The Abyss, which is James Cameron film as well, right? It's the same kind of. I remember when I watched that, thinking it looked very similar, and then when I was reading that it was sort of the same technology that they did it for both.
Yeah. Let's see, and I have one, which is less of a fact, but more of a theory. There is a fan theory out there that Arnold Schwarzenegger's other movies, where he plays good guys, are just like what the Terminator is experiencing as he's being reprogrammed, so that he's, good in the second one and all of the rest of them. So that's almost something.
It's almost something.
Almost. It's very nearly something. If you think about it.
It's about as close as you can get, with possibly without being the thing.
Without being actually something, yes.
Right.
And he was paid. So Arnold was paid $15 million for T2. He had 700 words of dialogue, so it works out to something like $21,000 per word for him. So listen, it's a tough life being an actor.
That's a pretty decent rate. Writers certainly do not make anywhere near that much.
No. If you're getting into this for that, then you're in the wrong industry.
Just go. You'll make money, way more money as a bartender. Have a good time. Yeah. You know what else can actually exist if only we were to let it?
What?
People's true opinions.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Craig, because you rolled low, you had to attack a movie. Now, whether you actually loved it or not, we're not sure. Can you tell us, how do you actually feel about Terminator? Do you hate it, as you said, or do you love it? How do you feel?
I love it. I wouldn't have that up there. I wouldn't have printed this thing. I'm a big fan. I've always been a big fan. I've seen all of the terrible sequels, and none of them are as good. But I showed it to my kids. Maybe they were a little too young. You watch those movies and those shows from I'm aging myself here. For me, from the 90s, you watch it, and everything was so in our minds. It was like, oh yeah, that was fine. And then I watched with my kids, and there's all this swearing and all these terrible things, and I was like, I don't remember that at all. And I watched this with my son. He was, I don't know, he was probably too young. And we watched it, and then the sex scene came on. I was like, I don't remember this at all. I don't remember that. I remember that obviously he was the father, but I don't remember how graphic it was. And he's
like, wow, they were
watching
boobs in
it
this the whole time.
Yeah. I have a terrible memory, but yeah, no, I love this stuff. I watched the movies again to remind myself about them, and it's never a problem for me to rewatch Terminator movies. They're really, really good. Listen, some of the criticism I have are true, but that doesn't bother me. There's lots of movies, most movies have issues. I do personally, I really don't like that bootstrap paradox, where in any time travel show or movie, I hate that, where it's like, oh, we're going to go back and then that creates the whole reason we came. That makes no sense to me at all. But listen, I can ignore that for Terminator.
Yeah.
What about you, Travis?
Well, I also didn't like. I maybe made a couple bad arguments because, I was just trying to have fun out there. I don't think Kyle Reese knew the whole time. But I was like, I can't miss this opportunity to say that it was just him not wanting to use a bad pickup line. No, I love the Terminator. And I really am not like, it's weird. James Cameron is weird to me because he probably has made less movies than people remember. And B, two of them are some of my favorite movies of all time. And then the rest of them, I'm like, what is this? I don't like it.
Which two? Terminator 1 and 2?
Terminator 1 and Aliens.
Okay,
I love Aliens. I love that he took it kind of action, and I think it worked really well. And it's iconic with the "Stay away from her, you bitch." Is like, it's such a good movie. But then, I'm not a fan of Titanic, and the Avatar series I think is gorgeous, but kind of fluff, a lot of fluff.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, all that aside, I love Terminator 1 and I love Terminator 2. I've always been more of a fan of T1 because I think it's more of a horror film than an action film. And I think that the elements of the horror actually work really well. I remember being kind of scared, probably watching it too young as well, but really being pretty terrified of the Terminator, thinking he was like knocking on my door with a pistol in hand and coming after me. I love the guerrilla filmmaking tactics story. That's like such a cool thing. Yeah, maybe don't do illegal stuff, people, but it's cool that it turned out looking as good as it did with such a small budget. And then T2 is just phenomenal. Rewatching it, it's a little rough around the edges. It's got a bit of a choppy plot line sometimes, I think. I agree with Craig on the hand thing. That when I watched it not as a teenager, I was like, oh, I don't know if that makes as much sense as I thought it did back then. But the performances, the rest of the script, the action sequences all blend together really, really well, and it holds up. And I think, if you made a list of the most iconic villains of all time, the T-1000 should be on that list very high. Like Robert Patrick knocked it out of the park with his mannerisms and the costuming department with him being like the cop, and just the liquid metal Terminator was amazing. The way he ran, like all of it, I think was. I'm a big fan of Robert Patrick's performance in that movie. Definitely top 10 villain of all time.
High praise. What say you, Jeremy?
Well, now, previously to preparing for this episode, I had watched Terminator 2, Terminator 3, and Terminator Salvation. So, actually watching the first Terminator movie, I'm like, okay, I get kind of what people were into about this, but then also it's fine. It's fine. I heard someone once say that Terminator 2 was not a good sequel because it didn't respect the rules of the first one, as in regards to the time travel stuff, like the liquid metal Terminator, the T-1000 should not be able to travel back in time because it's not organic material, whatever.
Right.
But I think it's just one of those things where James Cameron, he conceived this whole movie to show a metal endoskeleton walking out of fire, which, cool. That's rad. But I think, he thinks about how to get from point A to point B, and then he gets there and everything else is kind of, doesn't matter as much. Like, you don't have to explain why Skynet designed Terminators with abs and butts and hogs, because there's no reason to. You know,
I think there'd be a couple reasons, but we just don't want to talk about those.
Sex
Look,
bot, yeah.
yes. Look, that is leading me to one of my points of how the Terminators were obviously originally sex robots, and they got mad about having sex with us, which is fair.
That's a fan theory, right?
I mean,
I think that's probably canon by Terminator Salvation.
It's canon to me anyway. It explains why they're all so bad at murdering. Because, like,
they're called Terminator robots. I mean,
but like, they all go and get guns. They all try to get guns, and none of them needs even a single gun. The T-800, he showed
that's true.
Like, when he first showed up, he just ripped some organs out of a guy and stole his clothes.
Right, but how do you attack somebody from far away if you don't have a gun?
You get close to them because you're an unstoppable murder robot, maybe?
No.
Like he can sound like anyone, but as you all pointed out, he chooses to sound like an Austrian beefcake. Why? Why is he doing that?
Okay, so I said that in my thing, but there's an outtake that explains it, right?
Outtake in Terminator 3.
So there's I don't know where it was. The guy who creates it. He's like got it. Basically, they gave him Schwarzenegger's voice, and he's like the creator of it. He's like, oh, I think it sounds fine. They were like,
he shows up. They're demonstrating the Terminator, and he's like, "Hi, my name is Major General Robert Candy or whatever." And
was
then
that your
like,
Austrian?
Can we do something about his voice? And then the guy that's pitching it is like, we can fix it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey, I know
we're super young, right? Because if you didn't watch Terminator 1, you watched that after.
I was born a year after Terminator 2 came out.
Oh, you're so young.
I'm such a baby.
Terminator 1 was 84.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If you watch those movies when they came out, right? This was groundbreaking. You look at the effects now; they're terrible, right? When I watched it again, like when he's taking his eye out, you could totally see that his face was plastic and all that, right? Terminator 2 was such an advance in the special effects, but at the time, it was amazing. Like it's like with Alien, right?
Oh yeah.
When I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Listen, I'm 52. So I saw all this stuff originally. When we saw Alien and the alien pops out of the stomach and looks around, like that was crazy. But then I watch it now and I'm like, seriously, that looks so fake. Like you watch it now when we've seen all these shows where special effects budgets and ILM and all that stuff, right? It's a joke. That's what we watched back then. But back then, when that was state of the art, it was amazing, right? But yeah, it's I get it. Though.
I mean, it mostly holds up. I think some of
I'm
the
going to make a
stop
question
motion
out of
scenes are
that.
a little
I'm going to make a
janky,
question out of that because there's a question there we might open with after the break. But sorry to interrupt.
And I mean, and hey, that's fine. If there's one thing I think doesn't hold up super well, it's the score in the first one, which is just like crazy synth riffs, and it occasionally just rips real hard, but it's almost always just like the dumbest thing about that movie. So, what are you gonna do? And like,
I remember.
I just wish the Terminators were better at murder.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect Skynet's approach of like, I will kill as many people as I have to as long as you are one of them, but they're just so bad at it. They're just all real bad at it.
Yeah.
He only gets like 3 deep.
Yeah.
There was at least like 28 Sarah Connors in that phone book.
There was definitely. I do have to mention
that test pretty hard.
Because you brought it up, Jeremy. I have a list of like 5 movies that I'm embarrassed to say I absolutely loved as a teenager, and Terminator Salvation is on that list. I was such a fan.
I haven't seen
of
it
that
in some
movie.
years.
I was like, Christian
really liking
Bale. I was like Christian Bale and these awesome robots with machine guns, and and then I rewatched it. I was like, this is terrible.
So many movies don't live up.
Is it
to
better
our
or
memories.
worse? Is it better or worse than T3?
Ooh,
What was Salvation for?
Christian Bale's in it, so that does make
Salvation
it-
was
Salvation
four.
was 4.
I'd say it's
And then there was
maybe a little more fun.
Genesis, yeah.
Yeah.
Dark
And there-
Fate.
Dark. Yeah, there's so yeah. You got to keep naming that. You got to keep numbering them, in my opinion. Otherwise, I don't know where.
Yeah, numbers help, guys.
Clay.
It does have a little bit of the trajectory of like a one-hit wonder emo band. In like the early 2000s. Like one real big hit with T1. T2 is the second album that did good numbers, but everybody knows wasn't as good, and kind of like stood as a marker for what was to come. And then what was to come came. And we ended up at Terminator Salvation at some point. And I don't know. I do like Terminator 1. I do feel like it is a horror movie. It has a lot of the same beats. I love when he does. I mean, I actually totally agree with you, Jeremy. They should just walk up and rip people's guts out if they can do that. Going to buy a gun and committing like multiple murders doesn't really make sense or ring as like hyper intelligent plan to me. I guess it isn't. It's just sending back Murderbot, but that also kind of seems like the only plan they have working.
They could have just done flesh wrapped nuke.
Yeah,
It's gross,
yeah.
but they could have done that.
right. If they were just going to go down the phone, but hey, it was a fun concept, right? And we can all roll with that and enjoy it, which I did in Terminator 1. I don't really like Terminator 2 nearly as much. There are too many plot holes for me. And I do feel like Terminator 1 has that sort of like being hunted kind of feeling to it. Whereas Terminator 2, it just feels like being chased the whole time. And those are kind of two different feelings, because there's like levels to it when you're hunting. Like you're looking for them, they're trying to escape, they're calling for help. It's all going to intersect at the biker bar and people are going to get killed. Versus like, we have to get away from him. Yeah, we do. Let's do that. And then they just do that the whole movie.
Both movies are chase scenes. I mean, the whole movies are chase scenes, right? But
yeah, and it's not my
number
cup of
one
tea.
more than the other. Yeah.
I do think there's one iconic horrific scene in T2 that is stuck in my mind forever, and it's like when the kid or John Connor like calls home to his
The
adopted
finger.
parents. Yeah, and the fingers in like the dad, or is it the mom?
Yeah. She's
Like,
the mom.
through the
She's
mouth.
talking.
Yeah,
and
the mom.
Yeah.
The
No, the dad. The
talk
dad's the
about
one
this.
that he's emulating the
The
mom.
liquid metal is the mom
Yeah.
talking on
Yeah.
the phone, and
Right
He's
through the
got,
dad is drinking
Okay.
milk or whatever. Yeah.
that's
Okay,
like
Travis.
in here, man.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean,
I have to talk about this.
that
I
monster
really
is
do.
sick. I will say the monster was super sick, and that scene is a great scene.
Yeah.
I'm all about the
speaking of
voice
that
stealer.
great scene, hey now, I do have to talk about this because the T-1000, he kills that guy because it's like making noise and pointing out how the dog knows there's a Terminator there and whatever. But like, if that didn't happen, was that T-1000 just gonna make beef stew? Just hang out and have a quiet night in with the husband?
I don't think so.
I
What
mean,
gives you that hint?
Yeah,
Look,
I don't know what you mean by that.
the
I'm a little confused
T-1000 killed the guy because he was blowing his cover. Because, in the first one, they're like, oh yeah, we use dogs to find the Terminators. And, John Connor has this German Shepherd outside and starts barking. And then the dad's like, hey, what's going on with this dog? And then so the T-1000 stabs him through a jug of milk.
I think no matter what, that dad was getting stabbed through something. So
I mean, you would
Right.
think
it wasn't
so,
going to
but,
be like a.
why did the
but
dad go unstabbed all that time? Because he was
Well,
there just making dinner.
We don't know how
Okay,
long.
so the Terminator she killed the mother, presumably took her place, and was waiting to see if John Connor would maybe show up or whatever, right? So she was in the role, or he whatever, Terminator was in the role of the mother, and he was going to be, if it took a long time before the phone call or showing up, he was going to be a sex bot at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were built for that.
That's what's perfect. Apparently, yeah.
Perfect. It's perfect, is what I'm saying. But also, fun fact: that scene is the only scene in the movie where the Terminators talk to each other, and they're both pretending to be different people.
Oh, yeah.
So that's fun.
Clay, did you have? I interrupted you with my scary moment.
Did I have what?
Any more?
Oh, did you have more?
The T movies that you?
No. I mean, we'll get to anything else I have to say. These movies are just kind of not my cup of tea in general, but I do like the first one quite a bit more than the second one, I would say. The second one has cool monster, but the pacing for me is just very one note. That's boring to me. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah, I remember. I think I don't know if this is true. I have this feeling that I remember that Arnold made some decision in his career that he wouldn't play a villain anymore after T1. And that's why they made him a good guy. And I don't think since then he's even played a villain, right? Is that?
No, I think he's. Let me look real quick. I think he's mostly played heroes. Other than maybe the Running Man is like a gray, like a hero, but he's not really a hero.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I didn't love about it. It's like I wish he would have continued being the Terminator. I not that I didn't like the Terminator in T2. I think that was interesting. But I liked him as the bad guy. But it was odd that he all of a sudden became like, like father figure to Furlong.
Oh, he did. He played one technical, again, a gray villain hero mix in 1997. Any guesses? One of the most bonkers movies you can ever watch. Just a fun ride.
97. I need a hint.
Is it Jingle All the Way?
No, that's
he's definitely not a good guy.
Was it Twins? He was the bad twin?
Nope, it's not Twins. It's here's your hint. Hey everybody, chill.
Oh.
Batman Forever or
Batman and Robin. He was Mr. Freeze.
Oh, Mr. Freeze. Right.
He was totally Mr. Freeze. That's true.
Some ice. Yeah.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
The Ice
Age. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that was more of a jokey bad guy, so I guess that's why I accepted it.
That is a movie that is terrible, but like rewatching it is just so fun.
It is fun.
Wait, who was Batman in that one? Was that George Clooney?
That's Clooney, right?
Yeah, man, that was a terrible. Yeah,
boy had the nips.
I'm a big fan of Batman movies, but that
and
was
the Bat credit card. They pay for Poison Ivy's kiss.
You never leave the cave without it. Come on.
Yeah.
No, not if you're a responsible hero. And we all know that George Clooney's Batman was certainly that. In the same way that Mel Gibson's Hamlet was that. And if you know, you know. That's all I can think of when you tell me that Mel Gibson, yes, when you tell me that he was almost the Terminator, I see him playing Hamlet as a Terminator. And that would have been incredible.
It would.
Something the world was potentially robbed of. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back on the other side with our discussion and be around for about another hour. So we'll see y'all on the other side. Craig, go ahead and turn off your mic and your camera so it'll kick you off the screen. And we'll see everybody later. Hello, Fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first
of our new season, and I believe it's season 4.
The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know.
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my God, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then I will say another pro of this movie is their chemistry is hot. And I feel like if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Fuck. And he's like, and then later when they are kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was 2 lesser actors, I think it would have been an eye roll, felt cheesy, but you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up. You know?
Yeah. Dedicate that time.
You're
willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
That was so
good.
That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible.
We are back.
We back.
Are you sure?
Quite sure. Well, Craig's not back.
Craig's not back.
No, I'm back.
There's Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Oh, thank God.
Now we fully back.
I was really scared.
Coming in and leaving.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get the dog struggle, man. I get the dog struggle.
The dog struggle's real. I have some cat struggling happening as well.
It's real. I would like to start with the question that I teased a little bit, which is, we'll start with you, Craig. I'll set it up a little bit as I want to do. What makes something hold up? Because I do think there's a conversation that happens a lot about products such as Terminator that are, older from this one, 84. A lot of times this gets talked about with the original Star Wars. I've been having this conversation a lot with my middle school students. Usually it makes me want to pull my hair out because they say such things as Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is the worst Spider-Man. And I want to throw my desk. So
they're there.
Yeah. Help me out, Craig, with my conversation with those middle schoolers or not. Maybe you're on their side. What makes something hold up? What makes it be timeless in a sense.
Those middle schoolers are probably talking about Spider-Man 3, where it's a kind of a musical, right? In that sense, it didn't hold up. I think, it's the story. It's like what I was saying before. Like, if you watch these movies when they were originally made, that's when the magic. It's a lot of these movies don't hold up when you're young and you watch all the movies now, and all the movies now are based on what came before, and they build on that, right? Terminator was one of those movies that all the movies after it sort of model themselves on, and people don't get that, right? And if you watched it at the time and realized how groundbreaking it was, and then now you realize you can see all the movies that since then have taken pieces of it or bits of what made it great and use that in what they've built. It's just like you don't get it unless you sort of like lived through that time, I think, to see that it's like, nothing before that. There was crap, and then there was Terminator, and then everything afterwards was like, oh yeah, Terminator did this and Terminator that, and like the time travel and the special effects and all that stuff. Like, I think that's what it really is it creates that level that everyone then builds from.
A bit of a follow-up to you on the original question. Do you think there's a level too of like personal connection? Because I'm thinking of I'm just thinking of like, what do you think these like teenagers today are going to be shown things from their parents who are like more my age and a little older, right? So like, even if Terminator wasn't made in the time that I was living, I was shown it by my parents. So like, my mom sat me down and was like, "Hey, you're old enough. You're old enough now. Let's watch Terminator and Predator." Because
that's what I did with my kid. Yep.
Yeah, our mom is like hardcore for fans who like, she always aspired for Linda Hamilton arms, which she has now. She's buff as hell. But her favorite two movies are like Predator and Terminator. But I guess that's the question I would kind of follow up on, Craig, is do you think there's a level to these movies having longevity that's like personal connection with the audience? Of it's either someone who was there when it was made, or someone who was there when it was made showing it to someone they love and them having that personal connection to it?
I think all movies are like that. I mean, I've shown my kids so many movies that were great when I was a kid, and same with shows. I'm watching all sorts of shows that I loved with my daughter. We watched like comedies and stuff, and it's like, a lot of them hold up. And Terminator is one of those ones that holds up is in terms of the story. I think, yeah, I don't know that my kids would think of it as their tentpole the way I do. Star Wars, like the original Star Wars movies, there's new ones now that Disney's doing, but it's like those first three were the core. That's where it all began. And yeah, I guess some of that is nostalgia and the, growing up with that and being part of that when it first came out. But I think there's a reason why they did so well. And there's a reason why Terminator did so well is it started all this, and everything that comes later is a copy of it. And, you have to give homage to the original, I think,
Yeah.
Jeremy?
I think, yeah. I mean, holding up over the years, it has to do with the magic that they were talking about. Like, you have to have that magic, and if it's still there, like years later when you watch it, I mean, that's what holding up is. I don't know that there's exactly a secret sauce for making something work long term, because everything tries to, but
Yeah.
For these movies specifically, I don't think it's the story that's doing it. The secret sauce may just be that they're rad as balls. Just because, like, the story,
that's definitely the sauce.
That's the sauce right there.
Rad as
The story itself is a mess, and we've got. You gotta love the first one where it's just straight up future slasher where like Kyle Reese doesn't have a plausible alibi for what he's doing when he gets detained. It's whatever. He's just like, I'm from the future. And he's like, that's gonna go well for you. And then Terminator 2 is just autistic murderer versus high functioning autistic murderer. It's fine. It's fine. But it's cool. It's a fun watch. And
Wait, which one's high functioning?
The T-1000.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, T-800 maybe has more emotion, but T-1000 is doing more shit.
He's masking better. Okay.
He's not afraid of who he is.
You have to look
He's
at these
not.
movies in the context of the time that they were put out and what else was happening at that point and what other movies were happening at that point, and they were groundbreaking at the time. Right now they're you look at them and like, well, everybody else does it better, but everybody else had nothing until they came, right? They built on that.
It's clear that Terminator movies kind of peaked with T2 because they went and made the most dangerous and scary Terminator for that one. And it's like, whatever. You can't really go beyond the thing that can just turd into a helicopter and take over.
Yeah, I know.
You can't
like,
beat
really, yeah, they went a little OP on that one, right? Like it was a little bit too much. Because at that point, it's like, what else can you create that's more powerful than that? It can be everything. It can be anything.
I thought that about T3 of like, I was like, they tried to make this like, oh, she's a new kind of metal that's even more indestructible. I was like, you're rude.
She's just a worse version of the other
you
guy.
can't. Liquid metal was the metal. Anyway, Clay, what makes movies hold up?
I think for me, as somebody who's like trying to write stories of my own, I think that I find that most movies that hold up for me, so to speak, are probably my formative movies. And when I go back and I watch a movie from my childhood and I still think it's awesome, I look, and then if I'm working on my own stuff, I can usually see some of that influence reflected in it. I find a lot of the narratives I've gone back to that hold up all still feel very true to me in a lot of ways, from like a moral perspective and like a motivation perspective, where my motivations come from, what kind of people I emulated or looked up to growing up. So I think those movies make a big impact on you. I think stories make a big impact on you. At least they did for me. I can't speak for anybody else. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of what it is. Like when you go back and you watch a movie and it still rocks, that's a good movie. And that movie had an effect on your life that like probably infused itself in ways that you don't comprehend unless you really go looking for it. Which, having these kind of awesome conversations sort of steers me towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with a sort of mentor today about a line. He was affected profoundly by a line from JFK, the movie with Kevin Costner, that like he's just focused on this one line his whole life, he said. So they definitely can have impact stories like that. I want to have a follow-up question that's maybe going to start with a bit of a rant because I think something that makes movies like this hold up, and this is where maybe I'll push back a little, Craig, on an earlier comment you made of the effects don't look good. And yeah, they look, you can tell it's like puppetry. You can tell it's plastic. But there's a sense to where I think a lot of these older movies, for me at least, hold up visually because everything's real. And like I think there's a yearning, at least people my age, like my peers, I don't know about younger generations, but my peers, the like millennial or whatever generation, we kind of yearn for this like realism that doesn't come a lot in big blockbuster films. Like the MCU is fun. I'm not the biggest hater of it. I have a lot of them that I enjoy. In fact, I probably enjoy more MCU movies than I don't enjoy. But it started doing this thing that really irritated me. And it's like everything's a sheen. All the actors are beautiful. They all look super young. Their makeup is perfect. All the costumes are like glossy and sheen, and they're clearly CGI. And that's like pervaded a lot of cinema where it's like everyone's hot and all the outfits look great. And it's like movies that hold up, like Terminator.
No, they all got drip.
It's got a grittiness. It's got a realism. I think Lord of the Rings versus Rings of Power. Like Lord of the Rings, those people are hot, but they're like, you know, they're sweaty and they're dirty and the costumes are torn up and it looks real. Versus Rings of Power looks like, Rings of Power looks like they just took a bunch of models off the like floor of a, you know, I don't know, American Eagle store or something, and we're like, go be an elf. So yeah, I guess that's a great choice. There's a question hidden in there of like, do you think there's something to that of like we yearn for realism and knowing something's a miniature rather than just a sheen perfect computer generated thing?
Yeah,
Craig first.
Craig, you do have to watch movies in the context of when they were made.
Yeah, no, you do, right? And I think that we've gotten to the point every year you push the envelope and it gets better and better and better, right? If you were to create a movie now using 1980 special effects, it wouldn't do well, right? Every year we push the envelope. It's I mean, you know, I think at the time, like I said, at the time, nobody questioned the fact that it looks fake. I only question it now because I watched it now again, right? And I was like, okay, when he's pulling his eye out or cutting it, like it was just very obvious to me that his face was a mask or whatever it was. And now, you know, if they were to do that with special effects, with ILM, with whatever it is they use now, you wouldn't even notice, right? You know, I get it. I get that idea that you want it to look real. I think that most people, I think when you're born in this age, everybody's bar is different, right? Ours, when you're older, your bar is much lower, and when you're higher, your bar is much higher, right? When the kids these days, they're like, oh, if they saw Terminator 1, they'd be like, this looks shit, right? and I think that too when I look at it, but it didn't affect me because I'm like, at the time, it's like with the Alien, it looks so fake now. But at the time, it was crazy. I was scared. I saw that in the theater when I was a kid, and I was terrified. It looked so real to me. Now I watch it, I'm like, how did that scare me, right? So I think it just changed our, you know, what we're exposed to in the world changes our levels of what we accept and what we believe. So yeah, in your age, you're thinking, okay, that doesn't look, I want it to look more realistic, but younger people are like, I need it to look at this level. It's very different than your level. Very different than my level, right? So I don't know. That's the way I think of it.
Yeah, I think what Travis is speaking to is more realism, and I think that actually comes from the story level most of the time. Like, I think that's expressed in Terminator well through the characters. Like Travis was saying, they feel real. Like that scenario feels real, and it was scary in that regard. Like that's why the beginning of that movie is my favorite, because it's like the more horror paced type of movie, and that's my favorite kind. But when he's just going through the phone book and showing up and killing a couple people, and then you know a character you're minorly invested in is going to get killed, it was well paced early on, I think, and that sort of builds that up, that realism. Like you can see yourself in these characters, and to me, that's always more tense, more scary. Whatever story you're trying to tell, even if it's romance, like you want people to see themselves in your characters to some degree and be able to relate to them. They have to feel human for that, and I think that's the realism I find myself looking for. I don't know how much that has to do with me being a millennial, but I. I do think, like I said, those movies I watched as a kid were the formative stories for me. And so I recognize the effect they kind of had here that I'm looking back intentionally for it. And I think you're speaking to the same thing, Craig. Something I feel like it doesn't matter. Like a good story will get through to a lot of people. And if that good story is your first time seeing that thing, it's okay for it to be that and for that to be the biggest movie to you, you know? But like you should, like, if you really love a movie, see the influential films on it, recommend going and watching older movies that influence your favorite movies and things like that. Terminator's great. Like what you like. But I do feel like there's something to be said for when something is a first time for you. It is going to be the movie that stands out to you, and you're going to see its influence on other movies. Because just as certain films that hold up, like there's always a crop of new awesome movies coming through as well that like echo out and ripple out. So you never know what's going to catch fire, and Terminator did, luckily for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I think, you know, I'm going to push back a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and say for both movies, the effects are mostly all there. Like the stop motion stuff in Terminator 1, like it looks good, but it does stand out as particularly janky because they do that stop motion thing of like dropping frames and stuff. So it looks all choppy and whatever. But I mean, it still all looks good for the most part. And then like, and then when it comes to Terminator 2, when they actually had money because they were making the most expensive movie ever made at the time, like they still knew that the CGI wasn't the most reliable, so they used as little of it as they could get away with. So you've got things of like these crazy like flowering metal looking squibs for every time you shoot the T-1000, and you've got like in the liquid metal scene, or not the liquid nitrogen scene where the T-1000 where the T-1000's leg comes off, they actually got an amputee in there to just not have a leg before he falls apart. But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I get that there's a disconnect when effects don't look real, whether they look bad or whether they look too clean, like with the whole Rings of Power thing. And that can be dictated by time, but if the movie as a whole like holds up, then it kind of becomes like a moot point, you know, like for example, I don't think anybody is going to say that Speed Racer has the greatest visual effects of all time.
How many episodes can Jeremy mention Speed Racer?
I'm going to mention Speed Racer in every.
I never watched that one.
That movie ripped.
We're erasing that number right now, and we're writing 0.
Yes, we should have that. I'm going to get a board behind me.
You need a board.
Number of episodes with Jeremy not mentioning Speed
Racer. Come on now. Do you really think I didn't mention it in the last episode?
You didn't. I don't think you did.
I may not have.
But you did.
It's different with books. We talked about a book.
Douglas Adams.
It's harder to bring up Speed Racer with a book.
Yeah.
But that may be the greatest film ever made.
You think so? I've never watched Speed Racer because it looked absolutely ridiculous.
It is fire, actually.
Is it?
I think I actually do think it's pretty awesome.
Craig, you have to just fully surrender to it. I hate it.
Yeah, to be fair, Clay did watch it with me. So like that probably influenced some of his opinion.
We've talked about this before, Craig, but for 15 minutes I despised that movie, and then I just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it happen to me. And it was an enjoyable experience.
Ignore that the directors did the Matrix trilogy before that. It's got nothing to do with what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Definitely ignore that. Don't go in expecting the Matrix.
We may have interrupted you with our, calling you out for always mentioning Speed Racer, but what about that sheen is important with visuals?
I mean, when it comes to visuals, it can take a back seat to the story if the story is the thing that is meant to hold up. But like, it's mostly vibes. Like, and it's like Craig was saying, where like it felt real at the time watching these things, and then now in retrospect, it's like, oh, that's kind of weird and wonky and stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I don't want to follow this argument whole too far, but like, I think there's a level to where I'm thinking of two specific movies, like Nosferatu's story beats had been hit before. And yes, the performances are amazing, and like it's cohesive plot and it's threaded together really well. But there's also something to just how it looks. It just looks so real, and it fits the tone. And then I'm thinking of an action series that I constantly praise. Like John Wick is not a complex story. It's nothing about it is you've seen it before. It's a revenge tale. They kill his dog and he kills all of them. And it's got the Russian mafia. Like, oh, the Russian mafia is the villain? That's revolutionary. Like, no, that's happened like 1,000 times. But it looks so good. And a lot of it is because they blended the CGI with the practical effects so perfectly to make everything have this like realism. And there's never a moment where it feels like John Wick is like he sweats and he gets disheveled and he has to recollect himself, and like all these things happen that I think do add an element to our engagement. I guess that's what I argue for, is like realism in the visuals actually makes us engage more as an audience. When I watch the run-of-the-mill 50th Jason Statham action film, he gets like one cut on his cheek and everything else is perfect. I'm not in,
No.
Like the story can be the same as John Wick, but there's nothing to draw me there visually.
I mean,
That's
I
just a
love
different kind of art.
John Wick. I love John Wick. But the last movie, though, I mean, come on, he beat up that stairs when he's on the stairs. Like, just how much, like, he just gets beat so bad, and you're like, you're still alive at this point? Are you still alive? So, I mean, if you're gonna criticize Jason Statham for not getting injured, come on, John. But I love the John Wick series.
I guess one of my favorite examples is the one I already used of like Lord of the Rings. Like, no one argues that Viggo Mortensen isn't hot, but like he doesn't have to be this perfectly sheened. Like when he bursts through the doors of Helm's Deep, drenched in water and sweat, like clothes torn, that's maybe more hot. And like, why have we removed ourselves from that and like replaced it with this like glossiness? It's weird to me.
To be fair, that was a thoroughly ridiculous scene as well. If he rode a wolf horse off of a cliff and he came back with not a scratch.
He's got mud on his face, though.
He didn't have a broken bone.
He's real dirty.
And that river was like thigh deep, bro. That river was like thigh deep.
So if Terminator was made today, like if Terminator or Lord of the Rings were made today, he wouldn't even have mud. It'd just be like it'd be like a freaking like perfume commercial. He'd burst through the doors, hair flowing, like, oh, this guy's perfect.
I'm not going to pretend to know that. I didn't watch the last 2 Terminator movies.
Right?
That's fine. That's perfectly all right.
So if I don't know if you want to expand on that at all. I do have other questions, but I did push back on a lot of people there, so I don't know if there's more thoughts.
Yeah, listen, I agree that there's a point where if you have all this stuff, like you can't, you have to look like you're beaten up and you've gone through the ringer. Otherwise, it's silliness. And I think with John Wick, I think there's a point where I don't know. I love those movies, but he takes such a beating that you're kind of like, come on, really? You're still alive? And even at the end of the last one, you're kind of like, is he dead? Is he really dead? I know they showed his grave, but is he dead? I don't know.
He's there. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough.
I think it all does come from the story, and stories can be told in a lot of different ways. But I think that I think a lot of the realism you're speaking to is really more about setting and tone matching each other than there being a right way to, put realism into your setting and into what your characters go through, and hair and makeup and costume on all those levels. That's a lot of synergy happening. And I think that's when it works. Is you don't care about special effects if you're at a live show, like you know what you're at, and you go in ready to watch it, and you appreciate the effects for what they are within the context of themselves. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think you need to do the same thing with movies. Like, go in ready to watch a movie, ready to have fun. And 90% of the time you will. As if they're a good movie, even if they're a bad movie, sometimes you can have a great time watching a bad movie. That's a cherished family tradition of the Vermolums.
Yeah. Sharknado, baby.
Sharknado. I mean, you can cool it on Sharknado right now.
Okay, you're gonna want to dial it back a smidge. Okay.
Yeah, let's
take
it easy. Yeah. We can never debate Sharknado because everybody knows we love it.
Have you done a Sharknado episode? Because
no, we don't debate perfection, Craig.
You debated Speed Racer, Travis.
Speed Racer. I got Speed Racer.
Speed Racer's fire.
Clay, I think you have a really good point. I think it's the matching aspect.
I think so too.
Maybe
I may push back on that a little bit. Or push sideways. Because I don't think
that's a push. I don't really think that's.
It's a shimmy.
It's a shimmy.
If you're pushing, you're going kind of forward generally. I don't know that you can push.
I can push something. I
think
to
that's
the side.
just shifting something.
Hey, check. Hey, now.
Go ahead.
You're here. Let's bring it here. Okay.
Go ahead and shimmy.
But I think more than physical, actual realism, the thing that makes movies and stories in general just work is more of the emotional realism of it, which I think serves a lot in the Terminator movies, these two in particular, but in Marvel movies, that's why for a long time, even after people were like, oh yeah, the gas is gonna run out on that any day now, there was this emotional realism to Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, and whatever, all the way through where they decided to stop being in those movies. And I think it's also present in the first John Wick movie in particular, where I know I would carve a bloody murder canyon through the criminal underworld if somebody murdered my dog. That's just...
You try, but you'd probably be more like the Terminator. You'd get 3 deep and you'd be on ice.
I mean, maybe. But the actual realism doesn't matter as long as it's emotionally satisfying. Especially in the Viggo Mortensen Lord of the Rings sense of things. He fell off a cliff into ankle deep water and he's alive. And that's cool. That's really cool.
It was cool. There
was this emotional payoff to his story that had yet to happen. So, obviously he needs to survive.
Off the cliff. Have to get the quote right here.
Yes, of course.
I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point. But
I agree that's sideways. You know,
That's
that's
sideways.
one more aspect of the story that I totally agree that's equally true.
I do want
Sorry,
to
Travis, go ahead.
Clayton's point. Like the continuity is big in a lot of ways, and like if the setting and the visuals don't match the story, which maybe is my big problem with Rings of Power. One of my several big problems. But I think, yeah, there's a lot to that of, you know, Fast and Furious has a sheen. It's not good, but I enjoy it because I go into those movies expecting exactly what I get, which is something I've mentioned in a lot of things. But another question, gonna shift topics here. I can't believe we've never asked this before, and we'll ask this to you first, Craig. Rewatching / rereading. I kind of just want to hear everyone's general opinion on like revisiting something because I have shifted big time. I was never a revisitor. I always thought like, oh, there's so many books and movies in the world. I have to watch them all. And I'm going to just visit them once and never go back. And I don't think old me was right. I think there's a real beauty to going back and seeing something you loved with the eyes of like a second viewing. But yeah, I just would like to hear y'all's opinions on A, rewatching Terminator, like how was that? And B, rewatching, rereading in general. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a person that has a horrible memory. Like honestly, I can't even describe how bad my memory is. Like I feel like I have Alzheimer's. I have to watch things multiple times. So like when we're like, oh, let's do Terminator, I know that the shows, but I needed to rewatch them to really understand it. Like, so I'm a fan of, to me, it's like if I rewatch, it's like, it's not a new movie. I do recognize it, but I don't remember the details. So I'm fine with that. So I might not be the best person to ask, but I'm very much about rewatching things if I love them. If I don't love them, there's no point, obviously. But so Terminator, I've watched tons of times, but I watched it again to get ready for this episode, and it's not like it was a new movie, but there were things that I didn't remember. Like I said, I watched it with my kid, and I didn't even remember there was that whole sex scene. But it depends on your memory, right? Like some people have a great memory, and so there's no point in rewatching. For me, I do need to rewatch things. When I was a kid, I reread books. I don't do that so much anymore, but I reread books, and it's not like they're new, they're familiar, but it's like I don't pick up on it until I reread it. So I don't mind the rewatching, but it depends on your recollection of it and your memory, I think.
Yeah, and briefly, I love that you mentioned the showing your kids for the first time. I had my students asked to watch Top Gun Maverick last year, and they're middle schoolers, and I watched it in theaters and was like, oh, this movie's clean. Totally. Yeah. But when you watch it with a group of like 14-year-old, 15-year-olds, every cuss word is louder. Everyone, like you're sitting there like, I can't believe they said shit this many times. You're just like on edge. It all gets amplified. All the like bad stuff. And,
you don't remember that, right? You don't remember like the details of how dirty it was.
I was like, this movie is so clean. There's no cussing or anything. And then there's so many S words.
So many.
Yeah. That leads right into kind of what I think, which I'm a big believer in that sense, or when it comes to consuming things, consuming art, especially. You never see the same river twice, because once you visit it one time, you can't ever read it for the first time again. You now know what happens. You now know every twist and turn, and you now have an opinion of it. Like whether you subconsciously tried to formulate it or not, on some level you liked it or you didn't. And you're going to go into your second read informed by that opinion. So anytime you come back to something, you're viewing it from a different perspective. And then, I don't know, I think there's a beauty to that for sure. And I think it's absolutely worth doing for anything that you enjoyed the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you are a writer out there or something and you're looking for ways to keep improving in your craft, like go back to something you loved and study it, because whether you know it or not, you're probably like inspired by it and motivated by it and, affected by it in your own work. So you should go back and learn what you liked about it. Then you can do those things that you're subconsciously doing, and you can do them on purpose. And when you do things on purpose over and over again, you get really good at doing them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I love rewatching things. That's why I love this doing this show, because we do that like every week. And we trick awesome guests like Craig into coming on with us.
We did it, man.
We did it.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I mean, like, I always love revisiting something that's good, only to find out that it was something great. Like, I obviously try to rewatch Speed Racer annually.
That is the best.
Yeah,
feeling.
obviously. Of course. Like,
not rewatching Speed Racer, but
I gotta watch.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Of course. Like, but no, I revisit like Gilmore Girls and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Avatar The Last Airbender and obviously the entire Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, because it's like Clay was saying, you get something new out of each experience, and like there's always something that you couldn't quite place before that you can after you go through it. And they're like little threads that you kind of pick up on. Like even watching through like the Terminator movies, like before this show, I got the sense in Terminator 2 that like the T-800 was a lot less murderously violent. Even when he first showed up, like he could easily have killed all the people in the bar, but he didn't bother killing any of them. And it just kind of speaks to the sense that he was reprogrammed to not be such an asshole all the time.
Yeah. For all the reasons y'all have mentioned, I've come around on rewatching. Like I used to, kind of just think the quantity of what you consumed was the most important part, but I don't think that's it. It's quality. Like I'd rather reread the same books that are really, really good every year than just add more to the list. But my last question, pretentious question of the week, and this one is really going to be pretentious, and we might have some.
How pretentious we talking?
Some arguments about it. Okay, so there's been a lot of
over here, or what?
There's been a lot of psychology studies on this. One book that my lovely sister-in-law, Clayton's wife, suggested, Deanna, which is The Coddling of the American Mind. She gave me another book by the same author. Anyway. People have talked about this sort of like diminishing of the attention span. And when I was watching Terminator again, I was thinking a lot about Jaws and how I've talked recently with an older person in my family who kind of really does a lot of the social media stuff and watches a lot of modern movies and nothing really classic from his time, and rewatched Jaws and was like, it's so boring. Like all they did was just hunt for the shark, and it was no one did anything. It got me thinking about. So I rewatched it after hearing that comment, and I was like, "This movie is amazing. It's so well written. The characters matter. There's amazing dialogue. When the shark does show up, it's terrifying because you haven't seen it the whole movie. But I would just love to hear. Do you think this is actually as big of a problem as it gets lip service for being, of like attention spans diminishing, and as a result, that sort of having a detrimental effect on the consumption of what I would say is like good art. I put in air quotes. I think it's good art. I'm an objectivist, but like some people would say, oh, good is in the eye of the beholder. But like that aside, I mean, we're not debating that. Do you think that there's a detrimental effect being had on the consumption of art with the diminishing of attention spans due to social media? And
it's interesting because this is very relevant in the sense that Matt Damon did an interview recently where he, I guess, said something that wasn't necessarily, I don't know. It wasn't something that I guess Netflix really wanted him to say, but he pointed to the fact that when Netflix produces a film or a TV show, they require the script to repeat themes and repeat things because they know that people are on their phones when they're watching, and so they're not picking up on things that they would normally pick up on. So their attention span has affected how media is produced, at least with Netflix. So you have a point and you got to make it over and over and over again, whereas in the past you would make it once and assume that everyone understands that, but now you have to make it over and over again because people are on their phones and they don't understand. They might miss it, So I think, it has really affected everything because people are not paying attention, and it has affected at least one production company to repeat points that should be only said once. And it was a big story because it was like in there, I don't know, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck made some new show and
The Rip.
The Rip. Yeah, exactly.
Rip.
And he apparently looks at his phone and sees a picture of his kid or something. I don't know, over and over again. They would have done it just once, but because they think that people will miss it because they're on their phones, they did it multiple times. I think it's really affected everything. Yeah, to see that.
So I'm going to take the just total opposite take.
Let's go
on this. Yeah, I'm going to say the diminishing attention spans are basically a myth. Like it was either Socrates or Plato who was like concerned that the written word would diminish people's attention spans. And like,
no,
the idea
that's not
that
true. They didn't say that. It's like
it was.
I'm sorry, Jeremy. It's objectively false. They were talking about memory, not attention spans.
Isn't that kind of the same thing?
I don't think it is the same thing. No,
because like if you can't recall what you have just witnessed or
and
heard
also they
or
were
whatever,
correct. Like we don't.
They
have
were
as good
not
of
correct.
We do not have
Okay.
as good of memories.
We have exactly. We have pushed beyond what was even possible in their day and age because of the written word. And like the Netflix thing specifically is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you make something that people don't have to pay attention to understand, they're not going to pay attention to it in order to understand it. But when something is good and interesting and engaging, people are going to engage with that the same way they have for like all of human history. Whether that was some yutz just prattling on in the town square telling a story, or if it's like a movie on Netflix that was better than you thought it was going to be, so you put your phone down.
Like
you
The
know?
Rip.
Like I mean,
The Rip.
maybe. The Rip. I'll say like K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh, I haven't watched
would say
that.
that.
But it won all these awards. I feel like I have to now.
Bro, do
Yeah,
it.
don't talk about it because we're
I
gonna
won't
debate
talk
it
about it.
We're gonna
live
talk
at
about it. We're gonna
SquatchCon.
do it live. Yep.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. Like we're gonna tell you all about it at SquatchCon. So
That's right. Be prepared for that. Absolutely.
Clay?
I totally had an answer to this, and it just fluttered out of my mind.
It got derailed by Jeremy and I's argument.
Kind of. I do agree with Jeremy on a level. I do think that nope. I don't agree with your assessment of Socrates and Plato. I trust Travis to be quoting them correctly over you, but I do agree with you.
It's more of an interpretation thing.
I do. I don't care right now. I'm not talking about it. I have no opinion because I don't know the right answer. So that's what I'm going to say. But I do agree with it philosophically. Like, I don't actually think it's not like it's the stories that have changed people's behavior. It's the amount of consumption. It's the regularity of it, the ease of it. Like, we are programmed to consume. That's what animals do. All animals do all day is be like, I need to keep eating. And then eventually they're like, can't keep eating if I don't sleep. Got to find somewhere safe to do that so I don't get eaten by something else. And like, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. But now we have access to everything all the time, everywhere, whenever we want. And so I think it's way more about that.
I do want to make sure because I want to hear, like, I'm not saying the stories are changing the way we consume. I'm saying that the chicken and egg is reversed. Like the way I'm wondering if the way we consume has been changed by other factors that has now changed the story. Like, so it's has the way we consume art changed the stories rather than the stories we consume change the way we consume them.
Well, you also said good art in like air quotes. So I assume you mean art that's trying to be good. Whether it actually is or not is always up for debate. But I think anything that's trying hard enough to be good will be good to somebody. Like, if there's artists behind it who believe in it, somebody is going to relate to it most of the time. I really am a believer in that. And I think humans has always been like that. There's always been stuff that's just for basically entertainment. And if Netflix is making a show like that, it means they expect people to be playing games while they watch this or to be on their phones or whatever. And, I do that. That's like what people use reality shows for a lot of the time or stuff like that. But like, I think that's just a completely different approach to making something. And I think people do still seek out and invest in good stories when they start to come and find out what that means to them and what form they prefer that to take. Like, I think everybody loves a good story, a good experience. For some people, that's like sports. For some, it's music. For some, it's like surfing or something. It can come in all shapes and forms. But I think people seeking out that goodness of what they're consuming that makes it important to them and sustains them in some way has always kind of been the same as it is now. I just think it's like times 1,000 and everything's way too big for us to comprehend because we really like can't handle the internet.
I do think though, like, I think there has been a displayable shift in what a blockbuster is. And I guess this is where I'll end is like, do you think that's something that's because like Jaws was a blockbuster, but to today's standard, it's boring. Like I've heard that time and time again. Star Wars, the original Star Wars was a blockbuster. It was huge. It was a movie that people were returning to the theaters to watch again and again. But like, if you were to go through and like clock action scenes per minute, it's way less than anything that we would clock as a blockbuster today. Like, and literally creators going out in interviews. Like, I think I was infuriated by the Minecraft creators, the Minecraft movie, like just with a straight face. We're like, when people were like, oh, why did you make a Minecraft movie? And they were like, don't take this seriously. It's dumb. Just have fun with it. And it's like, yeah, okay, those do exist and I'm happy about that. But to just say like, yeah, our movie's dumb. It sucks. Enjoy that. I don't know. It rubbed me in the wrong way of like what used to be mainstream, and maybe I'm wrong. There was crap back then too. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. There was definitely crap back in every decade. But like, it seems like some of the things that made it big, like Terminator or T2, maybe wouldn't have today for some reason. Maybe it's not attention spans, but something's there that people, I don't know, wouldn't appreciate. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm a curmudgeon.
I really argue that that's idealizing the past a bit. I think it's just a bit out of context. Like, you're talking about the pre-internet age versus now. Of course, it's massively different. But I just still think people are looking for the same thing. And I thought the question was, has it affected how we consume content? If it's has it affected how content is made, then no. Then yes, it absolutely has, massively. Like, because there's more. I mean, we're talking about using AI to make everything now, right? So like that's completely different looking process right there. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely changed everything monumentally on that level. But I'm not sure if I'm like misunderstanding the question.
I don't think you can look at stuff that was when something comes out for the generation that it was created for. It has a very different impact than it would for a future generation, because the future generation is built on what came after that, right? So when I look at Terminator, it's very different than somebody my kid's age that looks at Terminator and looks at like, that I've seen that story before. Those effects are shit, But when it came out, it was a new story, and the effects were great, right? It's just such a different experience than it is. I think when you look at things in the past, if I look at old movies, black and white, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's crap, right? Because it was long before I was born. And it was like, yeah, I've seen that story before, but done better. But it wouldn't have been done better if it wasn't for that first one, right? So it's hard to, you have to understand these things in context of the time they were created and what was available at that time. And I don't know, I don't think people understand that when they look at old stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like you don't understand that about if it's black and white. You're just blanket statement on our show, like black and white films suck. Am I right?
No, but it's like I look at that stuff and it's like I can see how they see that right. Like it's like, oh, no, I get it.
Yeah,
back in the day, that was something that was like state of the art. But now when I look at it, but that's what my point is that kids these days that look at Terminator and they're like, oh, those effects are crap and that story's been done before. No, it was done after. It was done after. You think it was done before because in your mind, when you're born now, it's like, yeah, it was done. What you watch, it shows, but all that stuff comes after.
Yeah, Terminator was certainly the original story. Yeah. And we all know that. Jeremy, what do you think? Do you agree that Terminator was the original story of all time?
The original story of all time?
That's what Craig said. I mean, everything has been done after Terminator. This is
far be it from me to time for me begins well after the Terminator films began.
Because you're young.
Because I'm so young. I'm but a boy.
But a lad.
Child.
Yes, I'm but a little lad, as it were.
Still wee.
In the wee hours of my youth, as it were. But no, it's I think it speaks to something like a fundamental cultural shift, because a blockbuster used to just mean that people were lining up around the block to be able to see whatever the movie was in the golden age of Hollywood, where like a movie would be released like once a month before it was like almost the backbone of our entire civilization. Whereas nowadays you have like new movies released, like multiple new things released daily that like you're not even expected to even care about. So like trying to compare the one,
you know what I was saying. You know how I'm using that term in context. Like, let's not.
Yes, I know. The blockbuster has changed. It refers less to how much people want to see it and more to how much money that has been put into it because they think it's already going to be a success. So like
I think that's just as bold of a claim to say, oh, it's just about how much money something's poured into it, than as mine saying like maybe there's something that's been shifted with attention spans. But we could beat this dead horse far beyond its lifespan. But yeah, I think my final 2 cents are like, yes, Clay, there maybe is a level of idolizing the past, but I think that gets used as a negative far more than what I'd say is sometimes people idolize the present and the future of like,
they certainly do.
You know, old doesn't always mean better. Neither does new. And I think we can,
everything does suck.
No, that's not what I said. But.
Definitely not that. However, I do think there's a level of idolizing the present you were in when you watch a nostalgia movie.
Yes, absolutely.
But I agree with you. I mean, I'm not trying to make any massive blanket statements about this whole thing. I definitely don't believe that attention spans have not shifted. I'm not like concussions are all in your head. You know what I'm saying?
Puka-Nakua.
Hashtag Puka-Nakua. I do love you on the football field, pal. You're awesome. But well fought out there. Well fought out there this weekend. But yeah, I hear you, Jeff. Things have certainly changed. Humanity has been altered forever, and we can never go back until the whole internet dies. Which, as we all know from Terminator, is when Skynet turns it off and starts murdering us all with Arnold Schwarzenegger's. So, like, when that time comes, when you're watching this movie in real life, you know, look forward into the future. January 2028. I'm calling it right now. January 2028.
Okay.
We're all gone.
2028.
Enjoy the next 2 years, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. No, listen, we haven't even talked about the fact that Terminator is becoming real, right? Like every company in the world is making Terminator robots at this point. And you pop AI into that and we're done. Yeah. I'm not even.
Deuces. Craig is betting on the under. He's betting on the under with that 2-year bet. That 2-year bet that I threw out there. Craig's like, hey, I'm hitting on 6 months all day. Like we're out of here by November.
We're screwed. But I get it.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're all spending your precious last hours with us on Fermented Fiction.
On that happy note.
How many drinks do you need to enjoy the Terminator films to the fullest? That is our rating system. You might say, well, Clay, that's a dumb rating system that doesn't help me gauge the relevance of this movie in any way. And I'll say, you're right.
Yeah, you called it, man.
You called it. Yeah, call your shot. Good shot.
You did it.
Way
to go.
But we're going to call our shots now. How many of them is still up for question? Travis, what do you need to have to enjoy Terminator to the fullest?
There's a hard mode and an easy mode. I think easy mode is basically like pour either a tequila or maybe some beers, and you're gonna just want to like sip throughout this whole movie. Movies, both plural, but for the first one, you're gonna want to take like a mini sip every time it is actually kind of genuinely a horror film, because I think that'll surprise you. And then for the second movie, you're going to want to take a sip, and this might actually be harder than I thought. You're going to want to take a sip every time you wish it was more of a horror film, that it just straight up turns into an action film.
Nice.
James Cameron does that with sequels, though. Hard mode is every time you hear the name Sarah Connor, you call it
That'll get you right.
That'll get you right.
Okay. Jeremy, what do you think?
Well, hey, I think you'll want tequila. I think you'll want, whatever it is that does for you, the thing that like makes you not pay attention to the details. You don't want to be questioning why Skynet didn't think to just gas humans. Like, you don't want to think about how, like, the T-800 is very much not a cyborg, like everybody says. He's just a robot in a meat suit, And you also don't want to think about, like, the dude in Terminator 2, who's just going around licking mental patients. Don't think about that. And you super don't want to think about how Sarah finds out that she needs to raise the literal future of humanity, and her first instinct is to make him do as many crimes as she can possibly teach him to do. Okay, you don't want to think about that. So what you're going to want to do instead is anytime you start to think about that, just take a whole ass shot of tequila. Your mileage may vary. Call the ambulance first.
Call
the ambulance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pre-order that ambulance like it's an Uber, and
You'll
be
want
ready to head to the hospital. But that just depends on how you how you watch movies.
Yeah.
I agree with the Sarah Connor one. That was kind of that was one of my jokes as well. Or every time that like Arnold Schwarzenegger is just the most intimidating person on the planet in that movie. Like you said, basically that would go along with the horror theme. I like your theme of when it's a horror movie and when you want it to be, but I would get hammered if I did that. So I'm not going to do it anytime soon. Yeah. Craig, how many drinks do you need to enjoy the Terminator films to the fullest extent? It can be 0. You don't have to be Jeremy.
I'm just obsessed with the idea of licking. What did you say?
Oh, no.
There's a guy in the mental hospital. He just like Sarah Connor's pretending to be catatonic, and he's just like,
yeah. That guy was licking her. Yeah, no, I get it.
And they never address it.
And they never talk about it. That's the best thing about it, though.
Yeah. No, listen. When I watched this, I didn't have any drinks. What did this movie came out in the 80s? I was in my low teens. I wasn't drinking. You can enjoy it without drinking, but everything's better when you're drinking. So, listen, you watch these movies now, I think I watched it with my kids. They weren't drinking. They enjoyed it. I don't think you need alcohol to enjoy these movies. You have to just be able to accept that the fact that, the effects are what they are for the time. But the story, it's like Killer Robot. He's coming back in time. Blah, 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 blah. It's
Blah, blah, blah.
It's a good story. I love this story. The stuff that's come after is all copies, and that's fine, right? That's things are built on. You see something successful and you build on that, right? And James Cameron built a good story at the time, so I don't think you needed any alcohol to enjoy the movie that it was at the time. And T2, listen, it was good. It wasn't as good, in my opinion. And there was a lot of liberties taken, but it was still a good movie. The rest, I don't think they were as good. They were maybe just really not great. But all that stuff, listen, a good movie is a good movie because it has a good story, good characters, good plot, all that stuff. Terminator 1 had that. Terminator 2 had a lot of that. The rest, all of them.
But not all of it. Not all of it. That's for sure.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of not having stuff, something we at Fermented Fiction do not have is money. And that's okay. We love doing this show. We would do it for free, even if you try to get us to stop. But if you do love the show and you want us to do it even more, maybe come do it live somewhere near you. Who knows? It's possible. Yeah. All you got to do is go over to our Patreon, and Travis is going to tell you all about it.
Yeah, we got a lot of things there. We have a $5 tier all the way up to a $30 tier, I believe. No, maybe even more than that. I got to remember. But
at least $30.
At least $30. $5 will get you into the Discord where you get to chat with me, which I know not the most shiny thing to talk about, but we are going to have some book clubs and all that jazz. Cool discussion groups, hopefully, once we get started and rolling. And $30 will get you really fun stuff, such as an invitation to the writing retreat that we're going to start doing, as well as book boxes at lower level tiers and all that jazz. So we have so many cool things over at Patreon. But I just like to advertise. You can have anything from Discord invite to a writer's retreat invite. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And just remember that if you donate enough, I will kiss you fully on the mouth. If you want.
That's not the incentive.
Are you trying to get more?
I said
money
if
or
you
less
want
money?
that.
Okay, with consent.
It's well,
consent
definitely
is
with
important,
consent.
Everyone.
It's kind of like when you go to In-N-Out and you know that you can order off the secret menu. This is the this is the equivalent. It's our Patreon secret menu. Jeremy will kiss you if you want him to, and I guess
if you donate,
that's something for your wife to deal with at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you
But that's
donate
upper
more
tier for sure.
to not have him kiss you?
If you stipulate with your donation
Yeah.
to not let that happen, then I'm not going to do it.
Like he wouldn't do it without consent anyway, to be completely
course.
clear. But
I'm a gentleman.
yeah,
I'm
but
married. Come on.
you
now.
can ensure that he'll never do it if you subscribe to the upper tier.
At a certain level,
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
It's like an
On a certain
NDA.
level, you
just
do
say
have
from
to
it forever.
specify if you
when
want
he
that
turns
or you don't.
when he turns into a Terminator and he's walking around the earth kissing people on the mouth, he
Just
will
doing kiss it.
you, and his computer program will be like, no, they donated $15. Don't kiss this person.
Yeah.
No kisses.
And if Craig's underbed is right, he's already a Terminator. So we'll find out when we see him live at Crypticon Seattle or StokerCon or SquatchCon. If you are going to any of those events, if you're in the Seattle area or if you happen to be in the Pittsburgh area for some reason, you should come check us out. We'll have all those dates and stuff. Speaking of being up and around, my friend, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you tell people where they can find you, what you do, and who you are, and then we'll call it a night.
Absolutely. HiddenGemsBooks.com. Just go on there. Author services. That shows you everything that we do that can help you as an author. Reviews, beta readers, consults. We have all sorts of services. It just depends on your needs as an author. And, we're going to help with ads as well. Advertising is a big thing, and that's something we're building something special for that. So anything that you're interested in, come on over to Hidden Gems Books /author services, and we can help you out. No worries.
Thank you for helping us out and taking the time to be on the program to talk about Terminator 1 and 2. We, as usual, have been Clay, Travis, and Jeremy. Thanks again for tuning in to Fermented Fiction. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.